So, to start, fair warning, this is a super involved fly. It's very time consuming, but it's awesome. So anything that is really cool isn't going to be really easy. So with that in mind, here we go. This one's going to take a while. I've got a detached body pin. These are from the Jason, a Swedish company. They did a bunch of their realistic Mayflies. And actually, we've got some pins left at the shop. I don't know if these are still available or not. I think I've got one pair left at the shop. But if you don't have these, just a needle will work, just like a standard sewing needle. You just don't get kind of the curvature in the body, so you might have to manipulate it a little bit to get that curvature. And you'll see the curvature will set on this because of the glue we're going to be using. Now the first step here is to dubbing wax your body pin, and this will go, all these steps are going to be the same regardless of if you're using a pin or one of these or whatever. You want to make sure you cover it on all the sides. I don't like a ton of it on there, but that's fine. And this will ensure that we're able to slide everything off of here and we don't actually glue our body to our mandrel. And I'm just going to start my thread here. Give her a wrap. I could probably just start the thread where I did. I've always started it up there because that's what it's for, but now that I actually look at it, it seems kind of pointless. But at any rate, that's where we started. This is just a piece of plastic bag that, any of your materials or whatever, like just a standard plastic bag. This is going to be our base. Tie this in at the rear. So we can't just tie the fly on here because everything will fall apart, and so we need like this base to work off of. And you'll see, like if you were just to tie this fly and then slide it off this mandrel, you'd see exactly what I mean. It would just unravel and fall apart and it'd be lame. This is a whole lot of work for something like that to happen. Alright, so we're going to tie it up, kind of close to the top there. And I just wrapped it basically like pretending it was tinsel, I'm just going to take my thread, wrap it up. Capture it. Trim it tight. And then move my thread back down. So we've created our base here. And now, very important step, the most important step, is using Softex. This has to be Softex. It cannot be Zap-A-Gap. It needs to be flexible. So Softex, once it dries, you can sit there and still flex it. It's very rubbery, and it's really important that this stays flexible. As the Zap-A-Gap, if you cover it in Zap-A-Gap, it's going to just snap on you. You might get a while fishing it, but as soon as you catch your first fish, it'll just snap it because it's too hard and rigid. This will flex. So we're going to cover it a full 360 around. I don't want like a ton of goop and drips and all that stuff, but I do want this thing to be fully encapsulated in Softex. Alright, now we wait for it to set up. We come back in about 10 minutes and just kind of let this, you know, solidify and get, and because if we just start tying the fly right now, we're gonna lose, you know, it needs to set. So like when you do your thread wraps and stuff, it doesn't push around, and we just want to make sure we get everything glued down. So anyway, we'll be back in about 10 to finish the extended body. Alright, here we are 10 minutes later. Magic of Hollywood, we didn't have to wait. Softex is dry. We can now clip off our tie-in. And this particular fly will be a Hexagenia because it is July and it's that time of year, and these work really good for hexes. You can tie it a little bit smaller for green drakes. Any smaller than a drake gets pretty cumbersome. By a drake I mean a size 12 on an extended body, 10 on the bigger, for some of the bigger ones like black quills. Gray drakes are a little smaller, size 12 I guess. Well, it depends on where you are, I guess, but the ones I've seen are a little smaller. So for our tail on the hex, we're going to use black hackle stems. These come from a hen saddle. Hexes have two really prominent tails, so we will match that. So I'm going to take these, just tie them right on the top. Make a couple wraps. Spread them how you like them. Tie it all down. Alright, starting to look like a hex already. And now I'm going to take some razor foam, yellow razor foam. And I'm just going to cut a slight taper in this. I should probably taper this down a little more. To tie it in the rear, facing opposite direction of what we're used to, actually facing towards the front, which will be the back, if that makes sense, because we're going to flip this around. Move our thread up here, and now this is a pretty important step 2. Again, more glue, because we don't want this thing to unravel ever. If this were just dubbing, we wouldn't have to do this, and you can make a dubbed body if you want. For green drakes, actually, it works really good to do like a dubbed body, and then it's easier to do like a yellow rib that way. And we're going to be wrapping this counterclockwise. So what I'm going to do is just put some Softex on the foam that will be on the downside. I'm just going to start my wraps. some more. Nice and spread out. And there went my bodkin. Hopefully we'll find it here in a minute. And I think it's gone forever, so we'll improvise. I have no idea where it freaking flew off to. Hopefully I'm barefoot. Hopefully I don't find it the hard way. It's going to take the end of my whip finisher, I guess. Hopefully I don't lose that too. Continue our wraps. That's probably good there. We got slippery. Okay. So I'm going to grab her here. Give her a good tie off. And I'm going to let it sit again to dry a little bit. And what effectively that did is all these wraps, you know, manipulating the fly and all that, it's just easy to have them like spread out. So again, we're just taking these steps to just ensure we tie a good durable fly. I mean, if we're going to take this long to tie one of these, it might as well be on point. Wrap these down now. And give ourselves a little tie-in station. A couple whip finishes. Hopefully that stays. And then give that just a second longer. Alright, now subtext is set up. We're just going to slide this off. This is the beauty about the wax. This whole thing. Just push off, clean off some of the wax that always builds up. And now we've got an awesome extended body here that we're going to put on a hook. And the hook is just a 1x long it's a 1x long nymph hook, size 6. Match the Mayfly in your surroundings for size. 1x long, size 6. It's a 2x heavy, but most of these 1x longs are going to be a 2x heavy because they're on nymph hooks, which is fine. We plan on catching big fish. I'm going to size her up here. That's going to be about good right there, let's say. So I'll take a couple wraps here and just kind of look. You know, that'll hold it. I just want to make sure everything's proportioned right, and then wherever you stop your thread, that's going to be, you know, kind of where this fly lands. So that's good there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to smash this with my fingers because it's hollow. And if you tie it in hollow, it just takes up a huge footprint back here. And we're going to need that footprint to to tie in our wing. So I'm just going to sit here and give it some good smashes. That also gives us more of a tying surface. And so now I will add some Zap-A-Gap. Don't need a lot. It's probably more than we need, but we'll tie her down. Alright. And got our Mayfly body. What you can do if you want, since this whole thing's hollow, if you really want to get fancy, which we might as well, I found my bodkin. So what you can do is you can take a little bit of UV. This is the Pro UV. And the reason I like the Pro UV is because it's flexible, really flexible. Just take a little bit on your bodkin here. And you can close up the hole in the back. And you've basically just trapped a ton of air in the body. This stuff doesn't take long to cure, like 10 seconds. So now we've just trapped like a ton of air in here, and it's almost like a strike indicator at this point. And that'll just keep it floating and floating and floating. Alright, cool. So now for our wing. I'm going to use yellow. This is deer. I would much rather have elk, but I don't have elk, so I'm going to have to use deer. The deer is much more of a pain to work with just because it flares a ton. So our wraps are going to have to be a little bit more thought out, I guess, if you will. So I'm just going to take a clump, a pinch, whatever. Give it a comb. This stuff's actually pretty clean, luckily. Just give it a comb, get rid of all the little fuzzies and little dudes in there. Get it out. Throw it in a hair stacker. Even up all the tips. I should probably use a couple more good ones. Alright, there we go. So tips are even. So where we want to tie this in at is like just. And we want some room up top. You know, the wings are a little bit further back, you know, on these guys. And the wings are pretty long and prominent, so we're going to, I'm just going to measure it here. Kind of against the body. I'm going to do about the length of the body here. Let's give it a couple wraps. Loose wraps. I'm going to try to keep this right where I want it here, so couple loose wraps, keep going, tighten it up. We don't want to spin this at all. Move it back just a little bit here. I'm going to calm down and I'm just going to angle cut as I can. And it's important that you angle cut this, because we want to be able to capture as many of these little fibers as we can with our thread. And by angle cutting allows us to do that. I guess I'll get my true stopping point here first. Trying to leave the smallest footprint I can here. Alright, so now I'm going to come through and just carefully wrap these down. Being careful not to push this deer hair further up on the hook shank. We want that room, but we also want this in there nice and tight. Okay, good. Bring it up, bring it all up. Ideally you want to see bare hook shank in here, like that, which we can. Wrap it in front. Kind of compare down style. Give her some good securing wraps. Okay, now our initial parachute wrap. We're just going to trap it all loose at first. So obviously when you do tight, it flares really bad. We don't want that quite yet. I mean, we do want to do some tight wraps, but we want to get this mess under control at the moment. This is why elk would have been better if I would have had it, but maybe I should have waited a day and got some, but here we are. Deer float's better anyway. Okay, we're at a point now where we can just kind of go for it. Okay, so now I'm going to split these into even okay, that looks pretty even to me. And again, loose wraps at first. My fingers sure it helps. Alright, one down. Alright, we got our wings. I don't know if you can see that very well, but they are split wings now. Alright, that was fun. So next step is, while we have an open body, I'm going to mark the back with a brown marker as soon as I can find it. There we go. Okay. I'm just going to take my pinky and just kind of rub some of the brown to just drab it out just a little bit. Kind of fades it into the body as well. Now, for the hackle, I've got a yellow dyed grizzly here. This one's really hard to find, this color scheme, and so standard grizzly works fine. If you do a mix of brown and grizzly, that works really well, or that works really good too. And then while it's on the neck, almost have to use a neck now just because the quality of saddle has gone down for big flies horribly. I mean, you can tie 16s and 14s all day on them, but they kind of genetically modified these things to not tie anything big anymore. But while it's on the skin, I like to size it and then pull it off. That way I'm not running around with all these feathers that I've sized that aren't right, just kind of in a loose baggie or something that's never going to get used. So this keeps all the feathers together. So I'm going to tie in my hackle. So I'm going to tie it in back, pull it up, and wrap it around my parachute post a couple times. And before you trim it, give it a pull. Make sure it's not going to come out. Trim your stem. And you're off to the races. So, for the dubbing on this, I'm just going to use light yellow ice dub. If I had, I mean, you can mix it. I just like the ice dub. It's not quite yellow enough, but it doesn't seem to matter. It seems to be really effective. Tie this dubbing in, or just dub this rear section here real quick. And then right here, I'm going to throw on some rubber legs. And you can actually, if you want, give this a bit of a mark too. Just to keep the So these are sexy floss legs, barred sexy floss legs. This is the copper brown mottled. I'm going to tie these guys in real quick. Alright, and if you like them, after you've adjusted them, just a tiny bit of dubbing to cover that thread wrap, and we'll move on to the other side of the wings. So tiny bit of dubbing, and move up. We could do a little crosshatch action here too. Okay. wrap our parachute way down low, below the wings, or below the split rather, real low. I'll try to get one more wrap here, see how it goes. I think I can. I'm careful. Look at that. Alright, pull it all up. Tie that down, give her a clip, our little stem. A little bit more dubbing to finish her off underneath the hackle. The whip finisher that probably doesn't spin now because I glued it. Oh, we're still spinning. Alright, do a couple whip finishes here. Trim our thread. Cut our legs. Redo our wing that I just smashed to smithereens. Alright, and there you have it, the extended body Paradrake.